Good morning, students. Today's topic is factors affecting metabolic rate. Factors affecting metabolic rate. We have many factors, but first of all, we'll have to know what is the metabolism first. Actually, I've told you before classes also, but still, it's a process that if we have to be alive, most of the chemical reactions and the lots of processes need to happen in our body, which if we have to be alive. So collectively, all these processes which are there in our body, which is happening continuously, together collectively, we can call this as a metabolism. Okay, so metabolism is the sum of the total of chemical reactions and the other processes that are taking place in our body, inside our body, as we take the food inside, which utilizes by our body to maintain all the activities of the body at the rate of at the rest, and the and if the extra amount of energy is stored as the fat in our body. So if that is there, then if the storage is also there, then of course it has to be prolonged use. Later on it will be utilized in the form of fat if it is being stored. The biggest component of your metabolism is of the energy used in our day-to-day life, that is basic metabolic rate. The energy which is utilized just to maintain the body during rest. So here is some of the factors which we are going to discuss today, which is going to have have few maximum and minimum changes in the metabolic rate of our body. So the first which we have taken here is the body size. See, a body size constitutes nothing but the muscle, isn't it? So not fat. Okay. So the muscle here which we are going to constitute or take into the consideration, muscle of our body requires lots of energy to function than that of the fat. Okay, and the muscle tissues take more amount of energy and for their functions, and metabolic rate increases with the increase in the body surface area. See, if our body has lots of muscles and the area which is covered of our body is with lots of muscles, then of course there is an increase in the metabolic rate too. There is a shoot in the metabolic rate. Then muscles burn kilojoules rapidly, but fat cells are sluggish. Little, they don't want to burn the fat, isn't it? They don't want to burn so easily. And there are so many other tissues and organs which are far okay. The fewer amount of kilojoules of energy is utilized by the other parts of the organs comparatively to that of the muscles. So concluding saying that muscles do require lots of energy for their function. Age. What does the age factor does actually? How does it going to constitute for our metabolic rate? Age is one of the factor which is going to slow down the metabolic rate. As you grow up, as you become older and older, the metabolic rate slows down. No, but also due to the hormonal and the morphological changes, of course. But there's lots of tissues which is being lost by the old people. Okay, so they become lean. They shows us the metabolic rate of the young child is almost double than that of the older man. Then you can know how the how rapidly synthesis of the cellular materials and the growth of the body is taking will be taking place in the smaller children, but metabolism peaks up at the at 10 years of the age and minimum at the old age people. Okay, they are going to they have to try a very much more to lose the muscle, or the metabolic rate is very low. Okay, then so this results in the weight gain also in the older people. Then the gender or the sex, what do you how does the metabolic rate is going to have the difference in the genders? Usually man has lots of metabolic rate when compared to that of the woman. Okay, he easily loses his weight, but women can't. The man generally have faster metabolic rate than the woman, because the man has the greater muscle mass, and hence the higher rate of metabolism is seen in case of man. But in case of women, we see a little more fat tissues which are being along with the muscles. Henceforth, the muscles cannot be so easily broken down, or the weight of the woman cannot be reduced so easily. Coming to the next factor, that is the infection or the diseases. See, BMR is nothing but the basal metabolic rate that you all know. I have already explained to people in the previous class also, the previous video if you see, then you can clearly know what exactly the basal metabolic rate says. See, the metabolic rate increases with the fever. Why is it going to increase? See, likewise, any other illness also it is going to increase. The resting metabolic rate is going to be more, or to be more increased in case of the fever or ill people. BMR increases because of the body has to work harder to build new tissues and to create immune response. So due to which the body needs to work harder and harder during the illness, or the people who are suffering from any diseases and so on. So the next factor here is the food. Food changes our metabolic rate, of course. This is one of the basic known fact by all of us, right? So after taking a meal which contains large amount of protein, cellular chemical processes are stimulated, the metabolic rate starts increasing within 1 hour of the food ingestion. Okay, the increased levels last for about 3 to 12 hours. On the other view, under metabolism, under the malnutrition, what happens? See, if more amount of the food, if you take it, yes, of course, it is going to increase the metabolic rate as we discussed right now. But what about in case of the malnutrition? Malnutrition, there is a paucity of necessary food substances in the body, or in the cell, if you can say. The metabolic rate therefore decreases up to the 20 to 30%. For example, if there is a low iodine content, there is a reduce in the thyroid or the thyroxine produced by the thyroid gland, and slows down the metabolic rate. The metabolism decreases. Hypothyroidism leads to decrease in the body weight. We'll discuss. Okay. Then, as we discussed, if we what we have to eat, how we have to eat, what matters a lot. That matters a lot. So it is going to give a vast, it is going to impact a lot on the basal metabolic rate. What we eat, how much we eat is going to really matter in case of the increased metabolic rate. Coming to the food as such, according to the studies, intake of vitamin D and calcium have healthier bones, and also have a better mechanism of regulating their body and fat metabolism. Metabolism increases with increase in the magnesium, calcium, and the vitamin D. Iron is a major compound that helps in the transferring of the oxygen to the body cells. So, right amount of iron in our body can slow down your metabolism, and hence affects the health of our body. Okay, so coming to the next topic, or the next factor which is going to affect our basal metabolic rate, hormones. Thyroxine. So as we discussed a little earlier with an example of the food, isn't it? So if malnutrition is there, then the iodine content, if for example iodine, if you are not taking sufficiently, then the it may lead to hypothyroidism. So here is the concept of the hormones right now. How is it in turn going to have an effect on the basal metabolic rate? Thyroxine increases the metabolic rate of the whole body by increasing the rates of its activities, and almost all the chemical reactions See, hypothyroidism, as we discussed a little earlier, it is going to slow down the metabolism. What happens if the thyroxine is increasing in our body? Then it is a hypothyroidism. Hyperthyroidism leads the body to go or reduce its muscle weight. How? By increasing its metabolic rate there again, because the person becomes more hyperactive there in case of hyperthyroidism. Growth hormone and testosterone increases the metabolic rate by increasing the basal metabolic rate. Like stimuluses of neural stimulations also are going to affect our body, like norepinephrine or epinephrine, which also increases the basal metabolic rate. Many tissues of the body is also being under this influence. Many of the other factors which affects the basal metabolic rate can be your neural system, as we discussed later earlier. Environmental factors, it can be like temperatures and amount of physical activity that you perform in a day or in a week or in a month, or what's your lifestyle, depending on that. And drugs what you take, maybe drugs in the sense, or any medicines or any medication on your body is on. So depending on that also the metabolic rate will be influenced on it. And climatic changes and sleep, physiological conditions, amount of clothing is also going to have an effect on the metabolic rate. See, if you are wearing thick clothes and all, the body is more warmer there, so the basal metabolic rate increases, so you start sweating, isn't it? That's how the metabolic rates is going to be varying from our body, even with the clothes. And then here is a picture which shows you what and all we have discussed till now. That is all there here as a part of picture. See, if the basal metabolic rate has to increase, see, there is a lot of exercises are required and drugs and substances. If at all you are taking it, if you're under the medication, again the basal metabolic rate is going to increase. Hormones that we discussed a little earlier, food or the diet which we take in. Now the other two are there which we have not discussed, which was not there in our syllabus. But still, I'm going to tell you a few points on that also. See, how is it going to affect genetically? Sometimes it is a genetic also, meaning some families have faster metabolic rate rather than that of the small, some genetic disorders. I'm not talking about the genetic disorders here. I'm talking about the genetic heredity, how the metabolism is faster in case of some families than that of the other. The pregnancy women which we have here, the basal metabolic rate is increased by 10% in the pregnancy of women and the lactation, during lactation also. Under this condition, there is an increase in the mass of the uterus wall, size of the mammary glands and fetal mass and placenta. Cardiac work and the respiratory rate increases because they have lots of workload on them. Okay, henceforth the basal metabolic rate increases with respect to the pregnancy. Genetics also we discussed, and hormones, diet, exercise, and the drugs. Apart from this, we have discussed the other two also, which was including in your syllabus, that is the age and the gender. See, the chemical reactions which is taking place here is see here the repairing of the cells, breathing, and the organ functions are also going to vary with respect to the amount of the food that you take. Okay, so here ends up your topic, the basal metabolic rate, or the factors which is going to affect on the basal metabolic rate. See you soon with the other topic. Thank you.